Hey everybody, welcome to GeekStorm. I'm Sean Hilton, owner of Comics Cube. Today I'm joined by my good friend Mike Harrison. He's a fire person. He knows nothing about comics anymore, and he knows a lot about trivial crap that's never going to help you in life unless you're on Jeopardy. And if you're going to correct me, he's really good at that. Today we're going to be talking about Stargirl, Space Force, maybe Henry Cavill, maybe talk about a little WandaVision, comic book thing, whatever else pops into our mind at random. Mike, what are we starting off with today?
Well, you know, I'm a big fan of The Office.
Okay.
Big fan of Steve Carell, so much so in that I have listened to a kind of an autobiographical book about The Office itself. It was 12 hours, something like that I listened to. So I was really excited for this Space Force that's on Netflix because not only does it have Steve Carell, it's also made by the guy who made the thing.
Well, the showrunners?
The name the creator of The Office, of course, as well as Greg Daniels. Thought this great combination for those two again to work together again. He's also created Parks and Rec and some other things that are big hits. I watched the first 2 episodes of Space Force, and I was not entertained in any way whatsoever. I think I chortled. I might have chortled once, if that's not a Pokemon.
I watched the first episode. I have not watched the second episode yet because I was not in a big hurry to go back. Instead, I watched like a 1978 cartoon called Jana the Jungle.
Nice.
Because that was more fun. And so I don't watch The Office. I get that people think it's funny. I think Steve Carell is funny. I think there's elements of all this stuff that are funny.
Right.
But the bureaucratic humor thing, because I don't work in... I own my own store and I don't have that bureaucracy. Sometimes it doesn't hit that well with me. The comedy, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. But I was excited about this. I'm like, Space Force, the whole idea sounds funny. There's a military aspect. I typically enjoy that sort of thing. So I'm like, all right. And then once some of the names started popping up, I only saw Steve Carell.
Right.
I'm like, this is a star-studded cast with a lot of big names. So, okay, let's go. And once it was all said and done, I was entertained, but I was entertained in almost... It's a comedy. It's more of a dramedy, probably, but it's set up as a comedy. I would say I almost felt uncomfortable during elements of it, that it's like chuckling at somebody falling over into something very painful, and it wasn't slapstick comedy, but it was just like, basically you're watching Steve Carell's life just fall apart with farcical kind of stuff happening.
That was a core aspect of The Office in that the Michael Scott character that he played was not a good person necessarily. He had a good heart and he cared about people, but he was super politically incorrect and just said things that he had no idea was hurting somebody else's feelings. Whereas this is you're starting out with this guy. He's a general. He thinks he's getting promoted. He gets 5-star whatever, and he's going to be in charge of the Navy or the Air Force. He's in charge of the Air Force, and then all of a sudden they say, well, we're going to start this Space Force and put you in charge of that. And that was you're automatically supposed to feel a little sorry for him, but along the way, I don't see any redeeming qualities of the guy. He's not necessarily, he's not necessarily a great dad. They show him in that aspect. He's not. I don't know if there's a wife involved or an ex-wife involved, but he's.
His
other
wife's
than
in it.
Is she?
Yeah,
yes, she is.
Yes. They do a scene which they don't explain.
Right. He's just gruff, and he's almost disgruntled in that he's been given this thing, and it's not funny. And you think, you've got a half hour here to reel me in, and you just didn't.
There was a sci-fi channel show about a cop that ends up the cop of like a super science area called Eureka.
Okay, yeah, I remember
It's kind of got a feel of Eureka without the humor because they're basically sent to a top secret base that you have to do crazy stuff to get into.
Right.
Then there's this wild aspect of a year later from, it's like, all right, this is what's going to happen a year later, then we get into his life. And in that year, his wife is in jail, but we're not told anything. We have no clue why. She just says, well, I'm going to be here for a long time. And the whole thing is just like, what's going on? Now, you watch the second episode. Does it tighten up? Is there a storyline, or are we looking at more of a just 30-minute situation comedy with very little connectivity?
Did you see what happened at the end?
Yeah, him and the buddy are having a drink, and all of a sudden, like, is it the Russians or the Chinese that clip their thing?
Yes. So the second episode gets into more just ridiculousness in that they're trying to figure out how to put this satellite thing back together up there because it's going to degrade in 12 hours and fall to the earth. Well, it turns out they've got a unmanned thing already up there with a chimp and a dog in it. Okay, And they're like, why didn't we know about this? Well, they did their mission. We're just going to leave them up there. We're not really, the plan to bring them down was never there. Well, can we train them? So the idea was, okay, can we quickly train this chimp to do a spacewalk and weld these pieces back on the thing? So, whatever. And it was ridiculous.
All right, so it's farcical comedy.
Yes.
All right. That's we'll try to get through a little bit more and give you some details, but right now it's getting definitely a thumbs in the middle towards a little bit of a downgrade here. So we'll see.
Yes.
Got some time.
Yeah.
What else you been watching?
Well,
It's a weird time to be watching.
it really
stuff.
is, and I was just explaining this to my wife this morning. She walked in and I was watching the second episode of Stargirl, and I said, as I'm explaining it to her, I'm like explaining it to myself. I'm like, well, this is not the CW's best. This is CW Seed or CW app. And nothing's on right now, so we're going to throw it on the channel to see if it sticks. Stargirl is very, I won't say family oriented, but very vanilla, very tamed down as far as anything social or violent or anything like that. I was impressed with the budget. I was impressed with production value, and especially I enjoyed the JSA at the beginning. They swung for the fences on that, and they gave you what these guys look like, what they should look like, what they should be doing. They spent a lot of money on special effects, and I was wondering if in the second episode, if we would see the special effects kind of go away, because in the end of the first episode, we're introduced to that Stripe character, the big robot, and I thought, okay, I know from Flash, that kind of stuff is expensive. You only get Grodd once a season, okay? And then you get nothing for a couple episodes, because they got to pay for it. So, but I don't know if it was because maybe the second episode was treated as a movie, like a pilot movie or what, but it was 2 hours for both episodes. So they did pretty well with if you can get your mindset around that more of a season 1 Buffy type of innocent horror or innocent adventure, then I think you'll enjoy the show.
I've only seen the first episode. I'm trying to get my wife to watch it so that I can watch it with her because I think she'll really enjoy it. Mm-hmm. It is not a CW show. I believe it is airing on the DC channel app thing they're doing, their streaming channel first, and then coming over to the DC CW thing. So I think it's getting a boost for a bigger budget than a typical CW project because it's getting the benefit of being used for one thing and then doubling over on another thing. I actually thought it was better than almost all the CW product. It was lighter, it was fun. Not everybody was lying to everybody in this really stupid high school kind of way that has made me very jaded towards a lot of the CW projects. The history seems pretty good, even though they have to alter a few things. And some of the alterations seem to be just for the costume that she wears to make that work, because it's a little odd. That initial thing you talked about with that the JSA showing up, those look great. For the budget that, not having a movie budget, to get all of those characters out there and looking just dead on. I was a little taken aback with Kevin, is it Kevin? I don't want to say McHale. Joel McHale, because Kevin McHale is a legendary Celtic. Even in his hey, spoiler, his death scene, he's like quipping little jokes that I'm like, this feels like it should be this poignant moment, but instead they're milking it down and making it more palatable for people by having him be witty as he's dying. So it's like we could have gone full on tearjerker mode, and instead we're like pulling it back just enough to make you all comfortable.
But then why have Joel McHale? If you're not going to at least let him walk around in that little scene, why even have him? He could have been anybody. It could have been Mike, for crying out loud. Jeez.
Would have been good. So I thought it looked really, really good. The effects were good. It seems to me that this whole thing is about legacy, which is something that DC Comics have done really, really well right up until Rebirth, kind of pulled the rug out from legacy characters. So she's a legacy, it seems. I've been told in the next couple of episodes, other legacy characters are going to start popping up. I was told in the second one, you start seeing, if you know the characters, like there's a gym teacher, and there's the guy who owns the actual gym in town is another character.
Is it?
They're all like dropped characters that are related to
I was gonna say
other people.
They did name check Ted Knight at the end of the second episode.
Because he invented the damn thing.
But then they name checked him, and he said, "Well, that's a story for another time." So
good.
I don't know when we'll get to that.
Little comic book guy, quick, because as you know, Jack Knight Starman is like one of my loves, and that is where she gets that giant rod. and to have them change that up to a whole different character and how it went down, I felt a little like it's a little disservice. But on the other hand, that's only to me because I'm a fan of that, and it's being disregarded. And story-wise for the show, it works fine.
Yeah, and yeah. They did, when they name checked Ted Knight, they did say he built it. He built the rod. So who knows, whose hands it's passed in between there. We might see a Jack Knight,
Be cool.
Maybe Jack might show up at some point when he sees the rod reemerges and might, hey, that's my birthright. You need, my dad made that. You need to give me that. That'd be kind of cool.
It's not gonna. So you've seen just the second one.
Yes.
I know the third one's out.
Is it?
There's a mystery because you gotta have that mystery, like who's her father?
Oh, right.
And even mom hasn't like told. Well, your dad is. No, it's like this big weird thing. So. We don't know. There's just been clues dropped. Who do you think Daddy is?
I don't know if I don't think it's Joel McHale, because otherwise, why not tell us it's Joel McHale?
Exactly.
Why not tell the audience it's Joel McHale? You don't have to tell her just yet. It can be, but why have the picture that's just Joel McHale-ish enough to be not Joel McHale, and then say, well, maybe he is my father. Why is there a mystery? And I really feel like since this Luke Wilson character, Luke Wilson?
Yes.
Luke Wilson? Since the Luke Wilson character, Stripesy, he obviously knew this girl's, or knew the partner, the Starman, and then all of a sudden he's dating somebody, and doesn't make that connection that that's somebody that was married to that person.
Wait a second.
That doesn't make any sense.
My call on this is, and this is strictly using CWS, watched a lot of TV, it's Icicle.
Ooh.
Icicle's her dad, because that's who kills
the Starman.
The Starman, who ends up with the rod. So if we're going to do this whole legacy thing, for more added drama, plus he was still alive.
That'd be interesting.
So I'm going to go with Icicle's the dad, the thing's compelled to go to her to avenge the death of the guy and all that stuff. And then if you see the picture's so grainy it could have been anybody, but it could also have been a version of this guy.
They show an Injustice Society picture in the second
Ooh.
one, and the only figures you see clearly in that picture are the two that are standing there talking, which I won't tell you who it is. It's not that important. But
Well, I've been told Shade shows up.
I didn't see him.
He's on the picture, but I get because I'm a huge fan. They were describing the picture and like all you see is like the brim of a top hat and some round glasses. I'm like, oh,
yeah. What I'm saying is,
out.
you see them all. You see them in like a yearbook type of picture, but it's just that you don't see their faces except clearly anyway. And maybe that's just to pull back and forward on the camera, but you only see the pictures clearly of the people that are standing there talking, which was a couple. The one I knew who was, and the other one I didn't know who was.
Sure.
But it was fun, and I'll keep watching it. It's definitely light. It's light like Flash was when Flash came in and kind of gave you the opposite side of Arrow. So it's lighter than Flash for sure. But this is a teenage girl too, so you're only going to get so much. Luke Wilson is passable in it. I liked. He's fine. He's a little whiny for me, but in this anyway. But I like it. It's a good show.
On the credit side of things, Jeff Johns is heavily involved, who created Stargirl and has a very deep emotional connection to the character. And also in the credits, I saw the name of James, I think Alan Robinson or James Dean Robinson. There was a James Robinson. James Robinson is the writer of Starman that I love and would have been the guy who created the actual staff that's used.
Right.
So it makes me wonder.
Is that him?
I think it could be. I'd have to double. The fact is, James Robinson isn't necessarily the most,
unique.
Exactly, but that could be him. Plus, he was also, I think, the writer for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie, which was horrible. He does great comic work, in my opinion, but yeah, his work in Hollywood which has, I think, always been what he wanted to do with his career, has not been as stellar. But I'm such a big fan that I'm willing to walk away.
See where they go and how far this goes, because Johns is so heavily involved in the Warner Brothers shows that are coming out on HBO Max, and he's committed, and they've said these are big budget things that we're going to have on HBO Max with the Green Lantern or whatever it is they get into. But so I don't know. A guy can only spread himself so thin. Same with Joss Whedon, doing 3 shows, and just there's only so much you can do, I think. So
it'll be interesting to see how Johns, because he's kind of vacated a lot of his comic book work to be the Hollywood guy, and he was their go-to creator.
Absolutely.
He was running the DC Universe's big flagships and was still keeping humble. Like when you talk to him at a show and stuff, he wasn't, he was a normal dude who was super excited to be a fan and just play with the toys is, I think, the best way to describe it. Batgirl is also on your list, I see over there, and big news on the CW front with Batgirl recently.
Yeah, so last week or so, Ruby Rose, the actress who played Batgirl, in a I would say a less than stellar debut season. It was okay and didn't have huge reviews, I don't believe, or huge numbers, I don't believe. But she's decided to step down, and whether it's she's saying this or whether people around her are saying this, she's not really prepared to carry a show. She's not prepared to be there in every shot for every call, and just didn't want to do that. So she liked the show, liked the place, liked Vancouver, blah blah blah, all that, but just wanted to step out of it. So they've made the decision now to not recast Katie Keene,
I think.
Katie Keene.
Something like that.
Okay, and which was that
her character,
that Batwoman character that the show is based on, but instead take a new character that we're finding out is in the DC universe and make her the new Batwoman. I don't know if there'll be a costume change or what, but definitely, obviously, a storyline change because that revolved around Kate Kane and her sister being the White Rabbit, maybe, or
Alice-inspired character.
Yes, yeah. So I got to think that's going to change quite a bit. How they move forward in season 2, but they are doing in season 2.
I think a lot of things to unravel here. For her, none of this. This is what we do. We're,
Sure.
you came here for news, came here for the wrong reason. So it's all conjecture and what we think.
Sure.
I think she's probably stepped down very realistically for the amount of hours involved in doing these productions. If you got anything from the amount of social media that Stephen Amell used during his time as Arrow, you know that filming one of these CW shows, which has a lower budget and honestly not the huge amount of views that a normal CBS or ABC show is going to get normally, is a 12 to 16 hour a day affair. And on top of that, you're the lead.
Right.
So you can go back to your trailer, but you're getting called out all the time.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, I've only seen one episode, but I'm going to assume it's a lot like Arrow. This is a dark show. They're filming at night.
Yes.
There's only so many times we can put you in the warehouse and turn the lights out and then film this thing. So she went from, doing some Hollywood stuff where I'm sure it can be grueling.
Right.
But I have a feeling a CW Canadian superhero show is probably one of the most grueling television projects that you can possibly do day in and day out. And she might be just like, you know what, I can go. It's like Will Smith doing an album.
Right.
He says all the time, you know what, I can do one album and it's going to take me a couple years and it's going to make me this amount of money. Or I can make one movie in 6 months and make all of that.
Right.
And it's like, so why would you do it? Same kind of thing.
Just like with any job, not everybody is cut out for every particular job. And to be the person that's number one on the call sheet, not only are they're the most, but all the actors and these directors direct. I'll direct episode 1 and 7 and 15. So she's got 10 different directors throughout the season. Okay, so but they all look to her as they all should. I've listened to 2 or 3 podcasts with Stephen Amell, like you said. I just listened to one 2 weeks ago with Grant Gustin. These guys live those shows. They are there from I don't want to say dusk to dawn because it's much later than that. Sometimes it's 5 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock the next morning sometimes, and they do that 9 months out of the year. And everything falls on them. The show falls on them, and the other actors. They look to them for direction. And if somebody's not cut out for that type of responsibility, for that type of work ethic, or the stress, then she should step back for her own mental health.
In wrestling terms of pro wrestling, the Stephen Amell, the Grant Gustin, and her, they have to be the ring generals of that thing. They have to be the face that other actors are going to. This is your show.
Yeah.
Without you, we got no reason to be here. So even though other people might even be bigger names or more screen time sometimes, it's you that these people have to funnel through. And if you can't do the hours and you can't be that general that like, guys, hey, you. Get out of the trailer, put down the PS4. It's time to do the scenes. You've shown up late 5 times now. It doesn't need to be a director. I think it needs to be some of these people.
I'm out here working.
Exactly.
You need to work.
Stephen Amell, whether he did it or not, in my head, when after all his social media stuff, I believe that he would have been like, don't be showing up late to my set.
Oh no, he is the general on set. He gets there and there is no messing around. I like to have fun stuff behind the scenes, but when it's action, and we're not screwing around. We're here to work, so I want to go home.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna get 3 hours sleep tonight. So can I get all 3 hours? Can we get this done and get out the door? So it's
So there you go. Batgirl. Do you know? Did they have any kind of weird? I didn't see it, so I don't know. Was there a season cliffhanger? Was there a weird thing?
I only saw the first three episodes. I think.
I want to watch it. Yeah. It's not. I'm not anti-thing. I think also some of the problem is just honestly, it's long in the tooth. You know, Batgirl. If that had shown up as your second or third series, we'd probably be praising it like crazy. But the fact is we've got so many superhero shows right now, or DC related or Marvel related projects. Right. We're so spoiled that we can actually look at it and go, you know, there's only so many hours in a day, and I don't know if you're going to make the cut now.
That DC Universe app is full of shows that I would take those shows and take them out 5 years ago, even 6 or 7 years ago, and I'd have been like, this is awesome. Swamp Thing, are you kidding me right now? I'd love to watch that show. Amazing. Now, there's just too much. Yeah. There's too much.
We are living in a spoiled age. We are. Now, on to a different thing. HBO Max, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but they've got a big announcement with the Snyder Cut, I believe.
Yeah, so, and this has been going on literally before the movie even was released in theaters, okay? So,
well, Justice League America is what we're talking about.
Justice League America. Very quick history lesson. As Justice League has wrapped up filming, and Snyder is in the editing process, his daughter passes away, and so he removes himself from the situation and says, I can't think about this. I understand the movie needs to be released on time, as it's supposed to be with the studio. And so the studio brings in Joss Whedon, who's knocked it out of the park with Avengers 1, and even if you like it, which I did, Avengers 2, and all the Buffyverse stuff. So he's well-versed in the ensemble cast. That is his thing. He comes in, puts the edit together, does some reshoots, as most directors do, did some reshoots, put together the Justice League that you saw in the theater. People liked it, people didn't like it. That's up to you. I don't care. I enjoyed it. I thought it was just fine. I didn't think it was fantastic, but it was just fine. Regardless, while this is happening, people are screaming for this Snyder Cut, and I wish that wasn't even a term. The Snyder Cut. I want to know what Snyder put together. 300 was an amazing movie. Okay, sure. I loved it.
Visually,
yes. What was the other one with the girl and the?
Well, didn't he do
the fighting girl? The fighting girl with the sword and, Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch was great. I love Sucker Punch. Okay.
All right. Sucker Punch is visually a beautiful film,
and that's what he is. That's what
story-wise. I don't think there's any substance.
He's a visual storyteller, for no doubt.
But super fluffy white marshmallow substance on most of his products.
So people want that. Well, I want to know what Zach would have done, because I didn't like my head movie didn't show up on the screen. So I want what Snyder would have done.
I got a second chance.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Snyder did not get a lot of kudos for other stuff he did just did BVS.
I mean,
was that him?
Well, he did Batman 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Batman 1, 2, and 3.
Well, it's Graham Nolan. I apologize.
Yeah.
All right. I won't lie, getting mixed up a little.
But he did the BVS, which not everybody was happy with.
Oh, no.
Okay. So when this rolls around,
Martha,
if tragedy hadn't struck in his family, I'm not sure. I know nobody would be asking for the Snyder Cut. They would just be lambasting what we got, because people lambaste what we got. Regardless, here we go. 6 years later, maybe something like that, and people have been constantly Snyder Cut, Snyder Cut, Snyder Cut. Hashtag Snyder Cut. They want to see what would have happened. Studio denies it exists. Snyder says it does exist. Other stars have said it exists and they've seen it. Whatever. Okay, so we're launching HBO Max. What we're going to do is we're going to release the Snyder Cut. Let me tell you, they're not releasing a Snyder Cut.
They're making a Snyder Cut.
Yeah, when you have to add 20 to 30 million budget and bring people back to do some voice work and whatever else reshoots they have to do, that's not the Snyder Cut that we have in the vault that I just don't want you to see. Yeah. That's pandering to the loud majority of the fans. So
this is an extended director's cut that is getting allowed to go back and redirect.
Yes.
Oh, that didn't work?
Yes.
People really didn't like the mustache thing.
Right.
Oh, that wasn't Joss Whedon's fault.
No.
He couldn't get around it. Well, now we have technology, or we can literally reshoot some of those scenes to do that.
And we're not getting just a movie. We're getting it's episodes. The way I understand, it's going to be 4 episodes. So it's going to be more material, the Snyder way, which I'm sure will be visually amazing. But it's just pandering. I'm more worried about now. I'm going to hear about the David Ayer cut for Suicide Squad. I'm going to hear. There you go. See, so people, I didn't get the head movie that I wanted, so I want the different version. I want the version with more Joker in Suicide Squad, or that type of stuff. It's just pandering, and it's a bad precedence to set.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack. One, I don't think it. I think you are 100% right.
You can stop right there. What's the next subject?
Got Warrior Beast over here. No theater was going to release this cut.
No.
It's going to be 4 or 5 hours long.
Right.
That wasn't realistic. So what you're getting is the Snyder Limited series or the Snyder mini series made for HBO Max, which could be an exciting thing to watch and at least will give us another version. The fact that people are doing secondary versions, I think is great. I disagree with you that this is a horrible thing because now the studio has double the chance to make money. Suicide Squad made money, but it didn't make crazy money. But if we can invest another $20 million into that movie and make another $60 million somehow,
sure. Oh, it's great for the studio.
I mean, the studio's going to love it, and then the fans who want to watch it are going to be super excited. They have, another thing. They'll turn around. There'll be a new DVD sale with new commentary. So if you bought the Justice League movie, and now you're going to get a chance to buy it again.
Right.
And you're going to. The fans are probably very likely going to go out and buy that if they buy physical media anymore. But you get the idea.
Yeah.
What's our time, sir? 5 minutes. Well, all right. That's enough time to talk about like one little thing over here.
Go ahead with your nail biter.
Did you read this one?
No, I wanted to, but I didn't get to.
This is really good. Image Comics is the number 3 in the financial money-making comic book. You got Marvel number 1, DC. Now Image has, for the last couple years, taken over the spot. This is a pretty long issue. It is called Nailbiter Returns. And the idea is that they originally did like a 30-issue series of Nailbiter. There's a small town in Oregon called Buckaroo County. Yep. They've had like 16 serial killers in that county.
That are from Buckaroo County?
Yes, that are from there. So it's almost like a WWE thing of serial killers with different themes. Everybody's got an outlandish theme. And so the first issue dealt with that. It ended with a proper ending, and people enjoyed it. And now, several years later, I think it's been about 6 years, now we're going to go back to it. Okay. I did not finish the first series because, as often happens, we sell out of stuff, and I fall off of it because I just miss out. Right. So I did read the first issue knowing enough about the previous series, know what I was going into. And I got to say, if you've never read the first one, doesn't matter. Some would say this is a great jumping on point.
That's awesome.
And it was really well done. And what it's going to do is going to do what so many other things do. You're going to read it, you're going to enjoy it because it is fun, outlandish, but also gory. But it's going to make you go, well, I want to know what happened in that first one now. And they are going to, I've already ordered trade paperbacks and I've already sold through, I think, almost all the ones I pre-ordered.
First series?
Yeah. Okay. So people are really digging it.
Are we talking about existing characters or all new stuff?
Returning, some characters are returning. And there's some new serial killer thing popping up. Looks to be maybe a supernatural element, but it's a little too early to say. Full color, it is fun, but it is also
You don't get
grisly.
a lot of fun serial killer stuff.
It's done in a tongue-in-cheek way, where like one of the heroes that we're talking about right off the bat is the Lucha
Libre?
It's not Libre, but it's a
Lucha Muerte?
Basically, it's that. And the idea is that he was a serial killer that killed people using wrestling moves.
Nice.
And he was dressed up like a lucha libre.
Okay.
So it is that kind of thing where they're all, one was the clown car killer. It was a guy who dressed up like a clown, had the big giant car thing, and this went around killing people.
That's great.
So whereas, it's gory and whatnot, the thing is so outlandish and weird that it's a fun read. So and then usually as we get into it, it'll get more and more depth and things will be going on. Great jump on point though. Highly recommend Nailbiter Returns from Image Comics for only $3.99, and it's a little bit of an oversized issue for the first issue as well. I would love for you to come by Comics Cubed and buy it. That'd be great, but I sold out of it. But I'd already told you that this is what we're talking about, so
that's fine.
I'm like, hey, let's talk about that. Hey, in our last couple minutes, just a question.
Sure.
So let's knock this out.
All right.
You have the cure to cancer. That's what we're picking this week.
Is this hypothetical me?
Hypothetical.
Or me really?
Magic realm.
Okay.
You woke up.
I've got the cure to cancer.
You got the cure to cancer.
Got it in my pocket.
You can ask for any geeky thing, anything. This is I'm going to give the world the cure for cancer for free. This is what I need to make that happen.
Okay.
So besides just the fact that you should do it because you're a good person,
right.
and you would.
I would.
But in general, you can put it on the table, and you can go, geeky people, this is what has to happen for me to give this all to you for free. What's it going to be?
Seriously geeky?
Doesn't matter. I mean, it needs to be something that would pertain to our audience that they would get. I have had time to think about it, so I know my answer.
Okay.
So
I would want, if I was the type of person that would say, give me or I won't.
exactly.
But I'm not.
I understand that.
So you're asking for a geek wish, like a rub the.
You're going to get cure for cancer this week, but I get this geeky thing.
I would like to have my book made into a movie in which I was allowed to have a part in. That's what I would do.
And what's that book?
That book is called Victory 6. I had to think about it for a minute because I wrote it 10 years ago.
And you can get a copy of some of the preview material on the Comics Cubed Facebook Live show this Saturday.
Can you?
Yes, you can, because I found 6 copies on my shelf.
Of what?
Of the preview material that you
Oh,
made.
you did?
I did.
The Small Wonders?
I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Myself, I go straight to the Joss Whedon camp.
Okay.
I put the Cure for Cancer on the desk, and I go, I want 10 animated episodes of Firefly on Netflix by next year with all of the remaining voice actors that are alive. And if you don't, you just caused all these people to die of cancer. That's what I get. I get 10. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, 10's not a lot.
10, 30-minute, not even
Right,
hour.
right.
10, 30-minute. You know what? Screw it.
Right.
I want 11 because I want one more than I already had because I'm greedy. And I understand that we're obviously not going to get Book back. And that's fine. And that breaks my heart because he's my favorite character.
Right.
But that's what I want. Joss Whedon,
Man.
I'm going to cure cancer. And all you got to do is give me 11 episodes animated of a Firefly show.
If you did that, you'd be a big damn hero.
So, until next week, everybody, don't forget to stop by downtown Kokomo and check out the finest toy store in all the world. That is Kokomo Toys and Collectibles, right here in the heart of Geek Street.
Where you are required to pay tax.
Be groovy.